Yo, what's up everybody? This is of course your number one dude, Lite Crypto here, and today we're going to be finally talking about Off the Grid. I was previously under an NDA, so I couldn't talk about it or show any footage around it, but now that the NDA is lifted, I can do that, and we already have a lot of other people doing content. We got big streamers like Dr. Disrespect and Ninja streaming the game, and they are also partnered with the actual developer studio in a lot of different ways. So this is kind of building up to be a very big thing, as it's being launched on Xbox One and PS5 and also on Epic Games on PC. But in case you are still totally out of the loop, let me kind of explain you what exactly is this game. So Off the Grid is basically a battle royale game. You have 150 players basically thrown into this map, and they have to basically loot different items for their weapons and then fight it off, and the last team standing basically wins. And this is kind of like the PvP mechanism of the game. There's going to be also a PvE campaign, which is rumored to be 60 hours long. I don't know when that is going to be launching, but obviously the main draw here is PvP. And obviously this is a Web3 game. So there's going to be different types of cosmetics and items which are going to be NFTs, including the nodes, which we are going to be talking about a bit later on in this video. In terms of the overall quality, I have to say this is de facto #1 crypto game ever made. Yes, there's some polishing and optimization which needs to be done on the game. Even with my high-end computer, it's not running like absolutely fine. Maybe I need to tweak out my settings a bit more, but fundamentally it is a bit straining for your computer in my opinion, and some optimization probably has to be done. But at least from comparing the current version to the earlier version that I played, I did see some significant improvements on the actual latencies and the lag and obviously the frame drops. So I think at least they have done some other improvements on the game so far. And let me talk about some other very bullish narratives revolving around the game. So first of all, we have Oliver Hendriot working on this game, who has worked on Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft games, Watch Dogs, Ray-Ban. He is kind of like the narrative director of this game. And then we have Neil Blomkamp. He is, award-winning director. He has done movies like District 9, Elysium, Chappie, which all of the three I have seen, District 9 being the best one. And then we have some other people. We talked about Ninja and Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect is doing actually the announcer voices inside the game. I don't know if they're going to be introducing more of them in the future. And as I already mentioned, it's already on 2 different consoles and PC. And it's just going to be, very big collaborative effort from different type of people. You have worked on other very significant projects out there, and you can definitely see from the art style that there's a lot of these Blomkamp style of aesthetics here, with the prosthetics and all types of how the characters look are very I don't know what the genre. It's kind of like a cyberpunk but rustpunk in the same. It's kind of looking more grittier and worn off and not so pretty as some of the cyberpunk games aesthetically tend to look like. And then there's obviously the actual nodes. Now this is something I also want to focus on right now, because it's a very big element about in terms of this investment. So they are going to be having their own token, which is going to be called Gun, and you can also get Gun by playing the actual game. Some of those tokenomics might change, so everything you're going to be earning in terms of Gun inside the game right now is going to be, it's just testnet. So anything you can't earn in the game right now, and maybe there will be some type of differences in the future that people who only pay by the battle pass will be only earning the Gun tokens. And even on these testnet matches, you're not always going to be getting the Gun tokens. So they're probably going to be having forms of systems that the people on the bottom are not going to be getting anything, because otherwise people would just bot inside the game and then just try to harvest rewards. So clearly that is not okay. So the big value proposition here is, which I'm extremely bullish on, and I'm not trying to, this is not a sponsored video by the way, so I'm just saying that this is probably the most bullish thing that I'm going to be investing on right now, in terms of an individual project which is not a non-blockchain. So in terms of popularity, this has all the potential things to basically become the next mainstream game. The only problem I see as a fear is the accessibility aspect. As I said, the game is kind of straining on your PC, but obviously you can run it on consoles, so it may be a bit inaccessible for certain people to kind of get started with the game compared to Fortnite, which can run on mobile, and so can PUBG, so that's a bit different. But they have these things called the Validator nodes, which are acting as forms of NFTs. And the total supply of these is 10,000. And the way it's going to be working is that there's 3 different varieties of these validators. And the validators are basically locked vaults with the guns token, the gun tokens. And the guns chain, by the way, is built on top of Avalanche, so this is, I think the technical term would be an Avalanche subnet, but I haven't really deep dive into the actual like tokenomics and what chain they're actually going to be utilizing. Not everything on the game are going to be NFTs, only some parts. And the way that nodes are going to be making money is from 3 different ways. So number 1, you're going to be making money in terms of the guns, which are locked. So I believe these are going to be vested in. So you're going to be getting a gradual unlock of the node. So the common node, which is currently being on sale, has 20,000 gun tokens locked in, and you're basically going to be getting those at the time like released to you on a gradual time. Second interesting source of income is going to be the battle passes. So when people buy battle passes in the game, portion of the revenue is going to be given to these node holders. And then thirdly, there are these forms of, well, we can just call them loot boxes. And these loot boxes are something that you can open with the gun token. And when people open these boxes with the gun tokens, basically what happens is that there's like an RNG process, and one of the nodes will be unlocking these things, and you're going to be getting reward commission from each of these data cubes, which are basically collected by their guild members. The amount of guild members you can have is dependent on also the rarity of the actual validator node. So the common has 2 guild members, the rare one has 8, and the epic one has 38. Right now there is a sale going throughout Ferrum, which we have talked about channel in the past, and they are selling the nodes at $2,250. Already earlier this year, I had a partial investment in the Gunzilla node. There's going to be other games, by the way, which are going to be part of these Gunzilla nodes, so I'm assuming that there's going to be some other types of revenue coming in the future outside of Off the Grid, which is technically their first game. So there is a lot of very bullish elements about Off the Grid in terms of the value proposition. Obviously there's the guns token, and people might be wondering, well, is this going to be a very good investment? And it's really hard to say because we don't actually know the inflation rate of the token in terms of like how much it's going to be distributed on a daily basis and etc. But in terms of like any game that I've seen on Web3, we have seen a lot of these Unreal Engine built FPS games. They're nothing compared to this. This is like a AAA level third-person shooter game, and it just has a pretty solid tokenomics. So there's a clear use case for the gun token. I believe it also has governance functionalities. There's a clear narrative behind this game, which it's not really needed to sell the token or the game itself. I'm sure there are going to be people like me who are going to be playing the single player, but the multiplayer is where the juice is at. Currently there's only one map, but let's remember that when PUBG came out, when Fortnite came out, they only had one map, so it doesn't really there's not really any type of prevention of like bringing out new maps or maybe rehashing part of the map like Fortnite does. So instead of like doing a whole new map, they are just rehashing some elements about the game. But in terms of like, we are already in Epic Games, we're already on PS5 and the new Xbox, we have so much of like integration with this game already, which makes me extremely bullish about the overall potential. And I think the nodes are fairly good priced in terms of also compared to the supply. We have done a lot of these. I've showed you guys many of these node compilation videos, which were mostly sponsored. And some of those nodes were basically like they had some insane supplies, 100,000 or whatever. But this is actually a node that had real demand. And not only that, it's just like a 10K is not really that much when you think about a massive game, an FPS game which could garner like insane amount of players. It's already kind of big player base on a testnet, invitee only. So in case they're gonna be not doing like some retarded, you know, distribution changes, there's a very, very bullish potential for this game. And this is a very scratch the surface style of, you know, video, as I have not really played like millions of hours of this game yet. I only got access to it like last week, and there's obviously limited, or were limited playtime dates for it. So in terms of like mechanics, I don't understand absolutely everything, but there's a lot of variety, and the movability, and it's like in terms of like core gameplay, seems a lot more balanced and a lot more creative and better than your Apex Legends and PUBGs and other ones that I have played. Visually, it still might have some, because it's not very like a colorful game. It's kind of like gritty, dark scale, a lot of gray. Sometimes it's like hard to like witness certain items and like the icons. There's some visibility things that they can still improve, but in terms of like a beta alpha product, I mean, it's a really freaking good one. So if I'm like really talking about aping into something, definitely would be these nodes, because I think the value proposition is very good, because there's 3 different incomes and sources, which are all obviously tied into the game's success. But I think this is a very, very good bet. So yeah, and I probably will be making more videos about this once the play to earn elements start out. We are obviously going to be talking about it, and I probably will be streaming this game also on the channel. As I have probably said to you guys, we are going to be having an election stream on November, so stay tuned for that. Last time, 4 years ago, we had one. I think we had like an 18-hour stream or something crazy. So it's going to be good, but I will be seeing you guys on the next video very soon. Tomorrow we're going to have a lot of content coming out, so thanks for supporting. And if you have any questions about the off the grid or the nodes, I try to answer best of my ability in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you soon.